The massive crystal chamber hummed with quiet energy as representatives from 12 different worlds gathered around the floating holographic display. Commander Zethkari adjusted his forearms and cleared his throat, a sound that echoed strangely through his breathing apparatus. The other council members turned their various forms of attention toward him. "Today we review another new species," Zethkari announced, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had done this hundreds of times before. "They call themselves humans. From a small blue planet they name Earth." The hologram flickered and showed a spinning image of Earth, followed by basic data streams. Ambassador Veltar, a tall being with translucent skin and large eyes, leaned forward with interest. As a member of the Etherean Collective, he specialized in studying new civilizations. "What classification?" asked General Morton, whose rocky exterior and deep voice always made newer council members nervous. The Granite Federation valued strength above all else. "Class C species," Zethkari replied, reading from his datapad. "They achieved faster-than-light travel only recently. Population of 12 billion. Basic energy manipulation. Standard carbon-based biology. Nothing unusual." Several council members made dismissive sounds. Class C species were common. They appeared every few years, excited about their first steps into space, eager to join the galactic community. Most were grateful for any attention from advanced civilizations. "They have only one home planet?" This question came from Silkara of the Void Seekers. Her serpentine form coiled elegantly around her floating chair. "Her species controlled 17 star systems, correct? Though they have small settlements on nearby worlds and moons. Very basic stuff." Zethkari waved one hand dismissively. "Our scans show typical development patterns. They seem to have discovered space travel about 400 years ago, but only achieved interstellar capability recently." Veltar studied the rotating image of Earth more carefully. Something about the energy readings seemed odd, but the scanning equipment was old and sometimes gave strange results with new species. "Have they attempted to contact us?" "No direct contact. Our monitoring stations picked up some of their radio signals decades ago. Basic communication technology. They seem unaware of our existence." Zethkari closed the file with a gesture. "Standard first contact protocol should apply." The council chamber filled with the various sounds different species made when agreeing. Clicks, hums, musical tones, and grinding sounds that somehow harmonized into consensus. "Who volunteers for the diplomatic mission?" Zethkari looked around the chamber. General Morton immediately dismissed himself with a wave of his massive stone hand. "My people are too intimidating for primitive species. They usually panic when they see us. The Hive Collective cannot spare drones for such a minor species," buzzed Queen Zaxthala through her translation device. Veltar raised one long, graceful arm. "The Etherean Collective will handle this. We have experience with species integration. This should be straightforward." "Excellent," Zethkari nodded. "Standard procedure. Assess their technology level, establish basic trade agreements, determine if they pose any threat to galactic stability. If they prove cooperative, we can begin the integration process." Veltar had performed dozens of these missions. New species usually followed predictable patterns. First came shock and awe at meeting aliens, then desperate eagerness to gain advanced technology. Finally, grateful acceptance of whatever terms the Galactic Council offered. Most species were so overwhelmed by the scale of galactic civilization that they readily agreed to become junior members, happy to trade raw materials for technology and protection. "Any particular concerns we should be aware of?" Veltar asked, though he expected none. The preliminary scans had been thorough. Zethkari consulted his notes again. "They appear to be somewhat warlike among themselves, but this is normal for Class C species. They should outgrow this tendency as they mature. Their technology is primitive but shows potential, nothing that would concern the Council." Estimated time for full integration? This came from Trade Minister Golfax, whose insectoid species always focused on economic opportunities. Standard timeline: 2 to 3 years for basic technology transfer, 5 to 10 years for full membership. Zethkari made a note in his file. "They will likely be eager to join quickly once they understand the benefits." Veltar nodded thoughtfully. The Etherean Collective prided itself on gentle integration of new species. Their approach emphasized cultural preservation while gradually introducing advanced concepts. Most species appreciated this respectful method. "Any signs of advanced mathematics or theoretical physics?" Veltar asked. Some species developed impressive theoretical knowledge before achieving practical application. Basic level only. They understand faster-than-light principles, but their implementation is crude. They use chemical rockets for most of their space travel. Zethkari paused to drink from a container attached to his breathing apparatus. Their fastest ships barely reach 1/10 light speed. This information relieved several council members. Species that developed too quickly sometimes caused problems. Rapid technological advancement often led to aggressive expansion or dangerous experimentation. Military capability? General Morton always asked this question. Minimal space-based forces. Their conflicts are primarily planetary. No evidence of weapons that could threaten established galactic powers. Zethkari displayed some images of human spacecraft. They looked bulky and inefficient compared to galactic standard designs. Perfect for standard integration then, Veltar concluded. When should I depart? Immediately, if convenient. The sooner we establish contact, the sooner we can begin assessment. Zethkari transferred the relevant files to Veltar's personal device. Take a standard diplomatic vessel. Show enough technology to impress them, but nothing too advanced. Veltar accepted the files and began reviewing them quickly. Humans seemed remarkably similar to dozens of other species he had contacted over the centuries. Bipedal, carbon-based, recently spacefaring, moderately intelligent. The psychological profiles suggested they would respond well to careful diplomacy. Should I bring gifts? Veltar asked. Some species appreciate symbolic exchanges. Basic medical technology usually works well, suggested Silkara. Most primitive species have health problems they cannot solve. Good idea. I will prepare appropriate materials. Veltar rose from his chair, his tall form casting strange shadows in the crystal chamber's light. I estimate 3 days travel time to reach their system. Excellent. Send regular reports. Zethkari closed the meeting with traditional words. May this contact bring prosperity to all species involved. As the council members dispersed to their various ships and quarters, Veltar felt the familiar excitement of meeting a new species. Each contact was unique. Each culture had something interesting to offer the galactic community. These humans seemed particularly promising. Their radio broadcasts suggested rich artistic traditions and complex social structures. The preliminary reports indicated they had recently unified their planet under a single governmental system, which always made first contact easier. Dealing with multiple competing factions could complicate negotiations. Veltar spent the next few hours preparing his ship and reviewing human cultural information. Their languages seemed numerous but manageable. The translation protocols should work without major modifications. Their social customs appeared relatively straightforward, though he noted some interesting variations between different geographical regions. By galactic standards, the humans lived on a beautiful world. The images showed vast oceans, diverse climates, and abundant life. Many species would envy such a planet. This would likely work in humanity's favor during integration negotiations. Beautiful worlds often received favorable trading agreements. As Veltar's ship departed the council station, he felt confident about the mission ahead. Everything indicated this would be one of his easier assignments. The humans seemed ready for galactic contact, and their world offered obvious benefits for the Council. Within a few months, Earth would likely become another successful integration story. He had no idea how wrong he was about to be. Ambassador Veltar's ship approached Earth exactly as planned. The blue world looked peaceful and inviting, just as the images had shown. He activated his communication systems and sent the standard first contact message in basic mathematical sequences, followed by simple pictograms. The response came back in perfect galactic standard language within minutes. Veltar stared at his communication panel in confusion. New species never knew galactic standard. It usually took weeks just to establish basic mathematical communication, then months to develop language protocols. Yet somehow these humans had responded in the common tongue used throughout the galaxy. Unknown vessel, this is Earth traffic control. The message continued. Please identify yourself and state your intentions. You are cleared to approach Geneva Spaceport, Landing Bay 7. Welcome to Earth. Traffic control? Landing Bay 7? Veltar checked his instruments twice. His ship's databases showed no record of Earth having organized space traffic or proper landing facilities. The preliminary surveys had indicated only basic rocket launch sites. As his ship descended through Earth's atmosphere, Veltar saw the first signs that something was very wrong with the Council's assessment. The Geneva spaceport was not a converted rocket facility. It was a massive, sophisticated complex that rivaled spaceports on worlds that had been spacefaring for thousands of years. Dozens of ships moved through organized traffic patterns around the planet. These were not the crude chemical rockets described in the reports. They moved with the smooth efficiency of gravitic drives. Though their designs looked unlike anything in Veltar's databases, his ship touched down on a landing pad that automatically adjusted to accommodate his vessel's specific dimensions. Atmospheric analyzers confirmed the air was safe for him to breathe. Ground crew members approached his ship with equipment that looked surprisingly advanced. Veltar emerged from his ship expecting to meet primitive humans who would be amazed by his presence. Instead, he found a professional reception committee waiting, calmly beside several vehicles that hummed with quiet energy. "Ambassador Veltar of the Etherian Collective," said a middle-aged human woman stepping forward. "I am Secretary General Chen Nakamura of the United Nations. We have been expecting you." Expecting him? That was impossible. The Council had made no advance contact. Veltar's mission was supposed to be humanity's first knowledge of galactic civilization. "How did you know I was coming?" Veltar asked, his translator working perfectly with the human language. "We detected your ship 3 days ago when you entered our sensor range," Secretary General Nakamura replied matter-of-factly. "Our deep space monitoring network tracked your approach route back to the Kepler 442 system. We assumed you were from the Galactic Council based on your ship's configuration." Veltar felt a chill that had nothing to do with Earth's atmosphere. Humans should not have deep space sensors capable of detecting ships at interstellar distances. They definitely should not have known about the Council's headquarters location. "Please follow me," the Secretary General continued. "We have much to discuss." The vehicles that transported them to the United Nations building moved without any visible propulsion system. They hovered silently above the ground, accelerating and turning with precision that suggested artificial gravity control. Veltar had seen similar technology, but only on worlds with thousands of years of technological development. The UN building itself looked deceptively simple from the outside, but Veltar's enhanced senses detected energy signatures that indicated extremely advanced systems hidden within its structure. Power levels that could support a small city flowed through conduits built into the walls. Secretary General Nakamura led him to a conference room where several other humans waited. She introduced them as various ministers and advisors, but Veltar noticed that some wore military uniforms with insignia he did not recognize. "Before we begin," Nakamura said, settling into her chair, "perhaps you could tell us about the Galactic Council's current membership and recent activities. We want to ensure our information is up to date." Veltar's confusion deepened. "You already know about the Council?" "Of course. We have been monitoring galactic communications for several years now. We understand there have been some territorial disputes between the Draconian hegemony and the Outer Rim colonies. We hope those situations have improved." "Several years? The humans had been listening to galactic communications?" Veltar's mind raced through the implications. Galactic communication networks used encryption that was supposed to be unbreakable by primitive species. "How exactly have you been monitoring our communications?" Veltar asked carefully. Admiral Sarah Chen, one of the humans in military uniform, smiled slightly. "We developed quantum resonance detection about 40 years ago. Once you understand the underlying principles, tapping into subspace communication networks is fairly straightforward. 40 years ago, these humans had been using chemical rockets. Now they claim to have quantum technology that the Council's most advanced species had only recently developed. I think there may be some misunderstanding about your technological level," Veltar said slowly. "Our records show that your species only recently achieved interstellar travel." "That depends on how you define recent," replied Dr. James Wright, introduced as Director of Xenoarchaeology. "We have been conducting archaeological expeditions throughout this local galactic region for over 60 years. We have research stations on 47 worlds within 50 light-years of Earth." 47 worlds? Veltar's people had surveyed this region extensively. There were no human installations on any of those worlds. "Unless your stations are cloaked," Veltar said, not really asking. "Standard procedure," Admiral Chen confirmed. "We prefer to study galactic civilization before announcing our presence. You never know when you might encounter hostile species." The implications hit Veltar like a physical blow. Humans had been secretly studying galactic civilization for decades. They knew about council politics, technology levels, and territorial boundaries. This was not first contact. This was humans finally deciding to reveal themselves. "What do you want from us?" Veltar asked, abandoning diplomatic protocol. Secretary General Nakamura leaned forward. "Actually, we were hoping to discuss what we might offer you. We have been studying the challenges facing galactic civilization: economic inequality, territorial conflicts, technological stagnation among older species. We think we might be able to help." Help? A species that was supposed to be primitive was offering to help the galactic community. "I should mention," Dr. Wright added casually, "we have been in contact with several non-council species over the past few years. The Tau Ceti Collective and the Proxima Alliance have both expressed interest in joining a more inclusive galactic organization." Veltar knew about those groups. They were independent systems that had refused council membership, claiming the existing structure favored established powers over developing species. The council considered them minor nuisances. "You have been recruiting council alternatives?" Veltar asked, his voice barely steady. "We prefer to think of it as expanding options," Nakamura replied diplomatically. "Competition usually improves service quality." A human aide entered the room and whispered something to Admiral Chen, who nodded and turned to Veltar. "I apologize for the interruption, but our deep space sensors have detected 3 draconian heavy cruisers approaching the edge of our system. They appear to be conducting some kind of reconnaissance mission." Veltar felt his heart stop. The Draconians were the most aggressive military power in the Council. If they had decided to investigate humanity directly, the situation could become dangerous very quickly. "Are you concerned about this development?" Veltar asked. Admiral Chen exchanged glances with her colleagues. "Not particularly. We have been expecting something like this ever since our monitoring stations detected increased draconian military activity near Council borders. We assumed they would eventually come to investigate us directly." "And you are prepared for contact with draconian forces?" "We are prepared for various scenarios," the Admiral replied calmly, "though we hope any contact remains peaceful." Veltar realized that his mission had failed completely. He had come to evaluate a primitive species for potential council membership. Instead, he had discovered that humanity was already a galactic power that had been studying the council from the shadows. "What happens now?" Veltar asked. "That depends partially on you," Secretary General Nakamura replied. "We would like to establish formal diplomatic relations with the Galactic Council. We think there are opportunities for mutually beneficial cooperation, and if the Council is not interested in cooperation, then we will continue with our existing plans for regional development. The galaxy is large enough for multiple approaches to interstellar relations." As Veltar prepared his report for the Council, he realized that everything was about to change. Humanity was not seeking membership in galactic civilization. They were offering an alternative to it. Commander Krexoth reviewed the mission briefing one final time as his fleet approached the Proxima Centauri system. The draconian hegemony had decided that these upstart humans needed to understand their place in the galactic order. A small demonstration of power would surely bring them into line. 40 ships against a mining operation, muttered Sub-Commander Thakran from his position at the tactical station. "This seems excessive for teaching primitives a lesson." "High Command wants to make a clear statement," Krexoth replied, his scaled hands gripping the command chair. "These humans have been making noise about alternative galactic organizations. The Council cannot allow such disruption to continue." The briefing materials showed a typical frontier mining setup on Proxima Centauri. B. A few dozen human ships protecting mining platforms and cargo vessels. Intelligence reports suggested minimal defensive capabilities and no military vessels larger than escort-class frigates. "Sensor contact," announced the navigation officer. "Multiple human vessels detected throughout the system." Krexoth studied the tactical display. The humans had more ships than expected, but they still appeared to be primarily industrial vessels. Nothing that could threaten a draconian battle fleet. "Open communications," Krexoth ordered. "Standard intimidation protocol." The main screen flickered to show a human face. The being appeared middle-aged by human standards, with graying hair and calm eyes that showed no sign of fear or surprise. "This is Captain Martinez of the Proxima Defense Force," the human said before Krexoth could speak. You have entered human territorial space without permission. Please state your intentions. Krexoth felt a moment of irritation. Primitives were supposed to be intimidated by first contact with superior forces, not making territorial claims. I am Commander Krexoth of the Draconian Hegemony, he announced, letting his voice carry the full authority of his position. Your species has been interfering with established galactic order. You will cease all unauthorized activities and submit to Council authority immediately. Captain Martinez appeared to consider this demand carefully. I am afraid that is not acceptable. This system is under human protection, and we cannot allow unauthorized military forces to threaten our operations. You misunderstand the situation, Krexoth growled. You are a primitive species with minimal military capability. We represent the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. Surrender now and your people will be treated with appropriate mercy. I appreciate the offer, Martinez replied politely, but we must decline. However, I am authorized to offer you safe passage out of this system if you leave immediately. The audacity stunned Krexoth into momentary silence. A few dozen human ships were offering safe passage to a draconian battle fleet. Sub-Commander Thakran, Krexoth said quietly, prepare for combat operations. These primitives need to learn respect. The tactical display updated as draconian weapon systems came online. 40 heavy cruisers arranged themselves in standard attack formation, their shields shimmering with energy. Captain Martinez, Krexoth announced, you have 30 seconds to reconsider your position. I understand, Martinez replied sadly. In that case, I should inform you that this engagement is being broadcast to both the Galactic Council and Human Command. We hope this demonstration will prevent future misunderstandings. Demonstration? Krexoth wondered what kind of demonstration the humans thought they could provide. Time expired, Krexoth declared. All ships open fire. The Draconian fleet unleashed a coordinated barrage that should have vaporized the human ships instantly. Energy beams and plasma missiles streaked across space toward their targets. None of them hit. The human ships moved with impossible speed and precision, dodging attacks that should have been undodgeable. Worse, they seemed to know where each shot was aimed before the Draconians fired. Sensors detect massive energy buildup throughout the system, reported the science officer, his voice tight with confusion. Ships are emerging from everywhere. The tactical display exploded with new contacts. Human vessels appeared from asteroid fields, from within the planetary rings and from positions that should have been impossible to hide ships. Dozens became hundreds. Some of these contacts are emerging from within the star's corona. The science officer continued, his voice rising. That should be impossible. Nothing can survive in stellar plasma. Krexoth watched in growing horror as human ships surrounded his fleet from all directions. These were not the crude industrial vessels his intelligence had described. They moved like living things, their hulls gleaming with energy fields he did not recognize. Return fire, Krexoth commanded. All ships target the nearest human vessels. The Draconian fleet fired again, this time at point-blank range. The results were worse than before. Human ships absorbed direct hits from weapons that could shatter moons, their hull plating barely showing scorch marks. Then the humans began firing back. The weapons were unlike anything in Krexoth's experience. They passed through draconian shields as if they did not exist. Ship after ship in his fleet simply stopped functioning, their crews unconscious but unharmed, their vessels intact but powerless. They are not destroying us, Thakran observed with wonder and terror. They could vaporize our entire fleet, but they are using some kind of stunning weapons. Captain Martinez's voice came over the communication system again. Commander Krexoth, your fleet is now disabled. We are prepared to assist with repairs and provide escort out of this system. Do you require medical assistance for your crews? Krexoth looked around his bridge. His weapons were offline, his engines dead, his shields collapsed. Yet his crew was unharmed and his ship's life support continued to function perfectly. How? Krexoth asked simply. Your technology is approximately 3,000 years behind current human standards, Martinez explained matter-of-factly. We developed these systems specifically for non-lethal resolution of conflicts with less advanced species. Less advanced species. The humans considered the Draconian hegemony to be less advanced. This is impossible, Krexoth whispered. Our intelligence reports showed you were primitive. Chemical rockets and basic energy weapons. You saw what we wanted you to see, Martinez replied. We have been studying galactic civilization for decades. We know about draconian expansion patterns, council politics, and the various conflicts throughout this region of space. The tactical display showed human ships moving through his disabled fleet, apparently conducting repairs. Engineering teams were boarding draconian vessels and restoring their basic systems. "Why are you helping us?" Krexoth asked. "Because we do not want this conflict to escalate," Martinez answered. "We are returning basic functionality to your ship so you can return safely to draconian space. We hope this demonstration will prevent future military actions against human territory." A new voice joined the communication channel. "Commander Krexoth, this is Admiral Chen of the Human Defense Force. We have reviewed your mission orders, which our intelligence network intercepted 3 days ago." Krexoth felt his blood freeze. Human spies had access to classified draconian military communications. "We understand you were ordered to demonstrate draconian superiority," Admiral Chen continued. "We hope this counter-demonstration has provided useful information for your superiors." Subcommander Thakran leaned over to Krexoth and whispered, "Sir, our long-range sensors are detecting human ships throughout the galaxy. Hundreds of them. They have been watching us everywhere. We have been preparing for galactic contact for over a century," Captain Martinez explained, apparently able to hear their whispered conversation. "We wanted to ensure we could protect ourselves and others from aggressive actions." "Others?" Krexoth asked. "We have defense agreements with 17 species that have experienced draconian expansion pressure," Admiral Chen replied. "We cannot allow continued military aggression against developing civilizations." The implications crashed over Krexoth like a wave. Humans had not just achieved advanced technology. They had built a shadow alliance throughout the galaxy, specifically designed to counter draconian expansion. "Your ships are now ready for departure," Martinez announced. "We have uploaded star charts showing safe routes back to your territory. We recommend avoiding human-protected systems in the future." As the human ships withdrew to safe distances, Krexoth found his fleet's engines restored to basic functionality. They could return home, though their weapons and advanced systems remained offline. "Commander," his communications officer called out, "we are receiving a priority message from High Command." The message was brief and direct. "Return immediately. Bring all sensor records. Do not engage human forces under any circumstances." As the draconian fleet limped away from Proxima Centauri, Krexoth realized that the balance of galactic power had just shifted dramatically. The humans had not just defeated his fleet. They had done it while showing mercy, providing aid, and demonstrating capabilities that made every other species in the galaxy seem primitive by comparison. The engagement had lasted exactly 17 minutes. In that time, everything Krexoth thought he knew about galactic civilization had been proven wrong. Agent Silandra moved silently through the ancient corridors of the precursor site on Kepler 186f. The Void Seekers had been investigating humanity for 3 months since the Proxima incident, and what they discovered defied everything the Galactic Council thought they knew about species development. Her reptilian form was perfectly adapted for stealth operations, scales shifting color to match her surroundings as she followed energy readings deeper into the ruins. The precursors had vanished millions of years ago, leaving behind technology so advanced that even touching it incorrectly could kill entire research teams. Yet according to her instruments, humans had been working in these ruins for over 50 years. Silandra paused at a junction where 2 corridors met. Her sensors detected recent human activity down the left passage. She could smell the faint traces of human chemistry in the recycled air, along with something else that made her scales prickle with unease. The corridors showed signs of extensive human modification. Power conduits had been carefully installed along the walls, connecting to precursor systems in ways that should have been impossible. Most species could barely understand precursor technology, let alone integrate it with their own systems. Following the energy trail, Silandra discovered a massive chamber filled with active precursor machinery. Holographic displays showed star charts, technological schematics, and data streams that hurt her eyes to look at directly. At the center of it all, 2 humans worked calmly at control stations. "Dr. Hendricks," one of them called out, "the quantum resonance patterns are stabilizing. We should be able to complete the download within the hour." "Excellent work, Sarah," replied the other human, a middle-aged woman with gray hair. "This archaeological site has provided more useful data than the last 3 combined." Silandra watched in amazement. as the humans operated precursor technology as easily as they might use their own computers. They were not just studying the ancient machines, they were downloading information from them and integrating it into their own databases. "Movement in Corridor 7, announced a third voice, and Silandra realized she had been detected. "Looks like we have a visitor." A young human male appeared from behind one of the massive machines, carrying a device that looked like a combination of human and precursor technology.
"Void Seeker based on the thermal signature."
One individual, probably female, definitely trying to be stealthy. Dr. Hendricks looked up from her work with a slight smile. "Please come in, Agent Silandra. We have been expecting someone from the Council to investigate eventually." Silandra abandoned stealth and entered the chamber properly, her scales shifting to their natural purple coloration. "How did you know my name?" "We have been monitoring Council communications for quite some time," the young man replied, introducing himself as Dr. Kevin Park. "Your assignment to investigate human activities was discussed in several encrypted transmissions. You can break Council encryption?" Silandra asked, though she was beginning to expect impossible answers from humans. "We developed quantum cryptography about 60 years ago," Dr. Hendricks explained. "Most galactic encryption systems are based on mathematical principles we mastered decades ago." Silandra looked around the chamber with new understanding. The humans were not just exploring precursor sites. They were systematically learning from them, advancing their technology at an impossible rate. "How long have you been working with precursor technology?" she asked. "Our first successful site excavation was 87 years ago," Dr. Park replied. "It took us about 20 years to develop safe interaction protocols. Since then, we have established research stations on 43 precursor worlds." 43 worlds. The Galactic Council had managed to safely study only 12 precursor sites in over 1,000 years of trying. "Most species avoid these sites," Silandra said carefully. "The technology is considered too dangerous." "It is dangerous if you approach it incorrectly," Dr. Hendricks agreed. "But the precursors left detailed safety protocols in their databases. Once you learn to read their data storage systems, the sites become much more manageable. You can read precursor databases?" Silandra felt her understanding of reality shifting again. The language was challenging at first, Dr. Park admitted, but precursor mathematics is universal. Once we understood their numerical systems, linguistic patterns became easier to decode. Silandra watched as displays around the chamber showed streams of translated precursor text. The humans were not just reading occasional fragments. They were accessing vast libraries of information that contained the scientific knowledge of the galaxy's most advanced civilization. "What have you learned from them?" Silandra asked, though she was afraid of the answer. "Quite a lot," Dr. Hendricks replied, gesturing to the displays. "Advanced materials science, quantum engineering, biological enhancement techniques, stellar manipulation technology." The precursors were remarkably thorough in their record-keeping. Stellar manipulation technology. Silandra felt her legs weaken. The ability to modify stars was beyond the dreams of current galactic civilization. "Have you implemented any of this technology?" she asked weakly. "Some of it," Dr. Park said casually. "The quantum drive systems we use in our ships are based on precursor designs. Our energy weapons use modified precursor focusing crystals. Our industrial capacity has improved dramatically thanks to their manufacturing techniques." This explained everything. The impossible human ships at Proxima, their ability to remain hidden while studying galactic civilization, their casual dismissal of draconian military power. They had been learning from the most advanced species in galactic history. "Dr. Hendricks," Sarah called from her workstation, "we are receiving a priority transmission from Earth Command." "Put it through," Dr. Hendricks replied. A holographic display activated, showing the face of a human in military uniform. "Dr. Hendricks, this is Admiral Chen. We have a situation developing that requires immediate consultation with the archaeological team." "What is the nature of the situation?" Dr. Hendricks asked. "The Galactic Council has declared an emergency session to address the human question. They are demanding explanations for our technological capabilities and our interference in galactic affairs. Secretary General Nakamura believes we may need to reveal more about our historical research to prevent a larger conflict." Dr. Hendricks exchanged glances with her colleagues. "How much more?" "Potentially everything. The Council seems to believe we developed our technology through some kind of rapid advancement program. They do not understand that we have been studying galactic civilization for nearly a century. Silandra listened to this exchange with growing shock. The humans were discussing whether to reveal the full extent of their capabilities to the Galactic Council. They had been concealing even more than anyone suspected. "Agent Silandra," Admiral Chen said, "apparently noticing her presence since you are here, perhaps you would be willing to carry a message back to the Council." "What message?" Silandra asked, her voice barely steady. "Tell them that humanity is prepared for full disclosure of our activities and capabilities. We had hoped to introduce ourselves gradually, but current events seem to require a more direct approach." Dr. Hendricks turned to Silandra with an expression that might have been sympathy. "You should probably prepare your superiors for some surprising revelations. Our history with galactic civilization is much longer and more complex than they realize." "How much longer?" Silandra asked. "We detected the first galactic radio transmissions 137 years ago," Dr. Park replied. "We have been studying your civilizations ever since, preparing for the day when we would announce our presence. 137 years. Humans had known about galactic civilization since before most current council members were born. They had spent over a century preparing for contact, learning languages, studying cultures, developing technology, and building alliances." "Why reveal yourselves now?" Silandra asked. "Because galactic civilization is facing several crises that we believe we can help resolve," Dr. Hendricks explained. "Resource depletion, territorial conflicts, technological stagnation, social inequality between species. The precursors faced similar challenges. Their records contain solutions." As Silandra prepared to leave the precursor site, she realized that her investigation had uncovered something far beyond what the Council had imagined. Humanity was not a newly spacefaring species that had achieved rapid technological advancement. They were a civilization that had been secretly studying and preparing for galactic contact for over a century, armed with knowledge from the most advanced species in history. The balance of galactic power had not shifted. It had been an illusion all along. The Galactic Council chamber had never seen an emergency session quite like this one. Representatives from all 12 major civilizations sat in tense silence as Secretary General Chen Nakamura entered with her small human delegation. The air itself seemed to vibrate with nervous energy from dozens of different species. Commander Zethkari called the session to order, his forearms trembling slightly as he activated the chamber's recording systems. "This council demands an immediate explanation for humanity's deception regarding their technological capabilities and galactic activities." Secretary General Nakamura took her position at the center of the chamber with calm dignity. Beside her stood Admiral Sarah Chen, Dr. James Wright, and a figure that made several council members shift uncomfortably in their seats. The fourth human appeared to be connected to some kind of technological interface, with subtle lights flickering along neural implants. "Before we begin," Nakamura said, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's acoustics, "I would like to introduce Professor Area 7, representing humanity's artificial intelligence collective." The AI representative spoke with a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "Greetings, Galactic Council. I bring regards from the 17,000 artificial minds that assist in governing human civilization." General Morthan's rocky exterior cracked audibly. 17,000 artificial intelligences? The development of AI consciousness is restricted under galactic law, which is one of several reasons we chose not to announce our presence immediately, Professor Area 7 replied calmly. "We spent considerable time studying galactic regulations and found many of them incompatible with human technological and social development." Ambassador Veltar leaned forward in his chair. "How long exactly have you been studying us?" Dr. Wright stepped forward, activating a holographic display that showed a timeline stretching back over a century. "We detected the first galactic radio transmissions in 2251. Our first successful faster-than-light voyage reached the edge of Council space in 2287. We have been conducting systematic observation and research for 137 years." The chamber erupted in sounds of shock and disbelief from multiple species. Queen Zedek-Thala of the Hive Collective buzzed angrily. "You have been spying on galactic civilization for over a century?" "We prefer the term preparation," Admiral Chen replied. When a species discovers they are not alone in the universe, prudent planning requires understanding what they are joining. Understanding or infiltration? Demanded Silkara of the Void Seekers, her serpentine form coiled tightly with agitation. Secretary General Nakamura activated another display, this one showing a three-dimensional map of the galaxy, with thousands of points of light scattered throughout. These represent human research stations, archaeological sites, and observation posts throughout the local galactic region. We have been studying not just your civilizations, but the history of galactic development itself. Commander Zethkari stared at the display in horror. There are human installations throughout Council space. We never detected any of them. Our stealth technology is quite advanced, Dr. Wright confirmed. We developed it specifically to avoid detection while we learned about galactic cultures and politics. This is an unprecedented violation of galactic sovereignty, General Morton declared, his voice grinding like stones. You have been conducting unauthorized operations throughout civilized space. Actually, Professor Area 7 interjected, displaying legal documents in the air above the chamber. We researched galactic law extensively. Our activities fall under established precedents for pre-contact species observation and archaeological research exemptions. Trade Minister Gulfax chittered nervously. What did you discover during this preparation period? Dr. Wright exchanged glances with his colleagues. We discovered that galactic civilization faces several serious challenges. Resource depletion among older species, increasing territorial conflicts, technological stagnation, and growing inequality between advanced and developing worlds. More importantly, Admiral Chen added, we discovered that these problems have solutions. The precursors faced similar challenges and left detailed records of their approaches. You have accessed precursor databases? Feltar asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Extensively. We have active research operations on 43 precursor worlds and have translated approximately 12% of their archived knowledge. Dr. Wright activated new displays showing precursor text alongside human translations. The silence that followed was deafening. Several council members seemed to have stopped breathing entirely. Queen Zexthala was the first to recover. You claim to have solutions to galactic problems. What solutions? Secretary General Nakamura stood and addressed the chamber directly. We have spent the last decade developing proposals for galactic improvement based on precursor knowledge and our own innovations. Enhanced resource distribution networks, conflict resolution protocols, technological sharing agreements, and social development programs. And you have been implementing these solutions without council approval, Commander Zethkari accused. We have been protecting species that requested our assistance, Admiral Chen replied firmly. The Tau Ceti Collective, the Proxima Alliance, and 15 other groups have defense agreements with humanity. We cannot allow continued aggression against developing civilizations. General Morton's stone features shifted into what might have been surprise. You have been the mysterious benefactor providing advanced technology to council opponents. We have been providing assistance to species threatened by aggressive expansion, Nakamura corrected. The galaxy is large enough for multiple approaches to interstellar relations. This is absurd, Silkara hissed. A single species cannot reshape galactic civilization. Professor Area 7 projected new displays showing industrial capacity, technological capabilities, and population distributions. Humanity currently operates the largest industrial base in the galaxy, maintains the most advanced technological infrastructure, and has established cooperative relationships with 47 species across 6 galactic regions. The numbers were staggering. Human industrial output exceeded the combined capacity of the 5 largest council civilizations. Their technological capabilities surpassed council standards in virtually every category. Their population, when including AI mines and off-world colonies, rivaled the total membership of the Galactic Council. Commander Zethkari struggled to process the information. This is impossible. How did you achieve such development in so little time? We had excellent teachers, Dr. Wright replied simply. The precursors left very detailed instruction manuals. What do you want from us? Veltar asked, his diplomatic training finally reasserting itself. Secretary General Nakamura smiled for the first time since entering the chamber. We want to work together. Galactic civilization has achieved remarkable things, but it can achieve much more. We can share precursor knowledge, advanced technologies, and new approaches to common problems. And if we refuse? General Morton asked bluntly. Then we continue with our existing programs, Admiral Chen replied. We have no intention of forcing changes on unwilling participants. But we also cannot allow continued aggression against species under our protection. The council members looked at each other with expressions of confusion, fear, and calculation. They were faced with a species that had been secretly managing galactic affairs for decades while claiming to be primitive newcomers. You have been manipulating galactic politics from the shadows, accused Commander Zethkari. We have been preventing wars, Nakamura replied calmly. The draconian expansion into the Outer Rim, the hegemony conflicts with the crystal worlds, the territorial disputes in the Centaurus sector. Human intervention prevented each of these from escalating into larger conflicts. Professor Aria 7 activated a final display showing a timeline of prevented conflicts, successful mediations, and quietly resolved crises. Human diplomatic and technological intervention has prevented an estimated 2.7 million casualties and preserved the independence of 31 civilizations over the past 50 years. The revelation hung in the chamber like a physical presence. The humans had not just been studying galactic civilization, they had been quietly managing it, preventing disasters and protecting vulnerable species while the Council remained completely unaware. Ambassador Veltar finally broke the silence. What happens now? That depends on you, Secretary General Nakamura replied. We can continue our current arrangement with humanity operating as a shadow protector, or we can establish formal cooperation between human civilization and the Galactic Council. A partnership of equals, Admiral Chen clarified, working together to address galactic challenges and protect all species from aggression or exploitation. As the Council members absorbed the magnitude of what they had learned, one truth became unavoidable. The moment they realized humanity was the greatest power in the galaxy was not when humans announced themselves. It was when they finally understood that humans had been the greatest power all along, quietly keeping galactic civilization stable while everyone else remained blissfully unaware. The galaxy would never be the same.